What's up, everybody? You got today, and we are going to be talking. First, let me just welcome you to the show. The Real Talk Show is like it's just sitting down, you and me, and we're just having a conversation. So nothing real formal. So we can talk about anything, but the basis of the conversation today, or the crux of where I'm heading, is how much do car people make? How much do car salesmen make? Is it worth it? Is it still a valued profession? There was once upon a time a man could make a couple 100,000 a year flipping cars, and that's a fact. And they did it. They made a lot of money. It was nothing to make over 100,000 a year selling cars. But what about now? Like, how is it affecting people, and how do car salesmen get paid? And how what's the risk and reward of that career? Well, that's a pretty good question, and today I'm going to answer that because I came up through this. This isn't from book knowledge. This is because I lived it. So I'm going to tell you what's involved in their pay. So let's talk about how do car salespeople get paid to start with. Well, the most common thing that car salesmen get paid with is called commission, which is basically it used to be pretty standard, about 25% of gross profit. And let me establish what that means. That means the dealer has an invoice, then he puts a pack on it, which you don't get any of that. And then whatever the dealer puts on as far as his dealer processing fee, you don't get any of that either. This is just generally speaking. Hopefully, there's some other dealer that's more kind and sharing, but so far I haven't met them yet. So you've got that gross profit. So you've got from the dealer invoice, whatever he puts his pack on, which is how much he's going to make money. Hey, what's up, Windy City? We've been talking to him all day too. So how much pack is on this thing? This is where it comes important. If a dealer's got a $200 pack, that means you've got a chance to make a little money. A lot of dealers have $600 or $800 pack, which means you're not going to get paid on $600 or $800 worth of profit plus whatever the dealer fee is. So if you're dealing with a $20,000 car, you have no chance to even make a profit. Okay. So that's how they get paid. They get paid on gross commission. Like they get paid on a gross profit, and basically whatever the minimum wage is for whatever hours. A lot of companies will have you clock in like a time card, and a bookkeeper will usually keep it. And if you don't sell anything, then they will give you a check for the amount of hours you're there. Now the house is going to take that money back when you sell a car. Say you make 500 bucks, but your check was for 400. They're going to take that 400 out, and they're only going to give you the 100 that's left over. Now, there's other alternatives to making money there. So there's also bonuses. They give you unit bonuses. So it's based on volume. So let's say at 10, you get 200. At 15 cars, you get 500. And these are completely random numbers. Your dealer may be completely different. But the idea is once you hit a certain point, you get a bonus. And sometimes they put spiffs out. It's a salesperson's incentive fee. And basically, if they have a car, so let's say it's 90 days old. We should do this all the time. Car's 90 days old. Whoever sells that car gets a $500 flat fee. Well, guess what? Every car salesman in the world is calling everybody they think they can buy that car because they're going to try to make that $500. So what happens when a car salesman sells a car and the guy's a pretty smart shopper? He gets it close to invoice. So the dealers usually pay you a minimum fee. So a mini deal is what we call them in the car business. You get a mini deal or a full pop. Full pop is good. Full pop is, that means you got MSRP plus plus plus. If they say pound, if they add a weight to it, like a 1 pounder or 2 pounder or a 3 pounder, that's $1,000 per for gross profit. So if I was like, hey, I just full pop that guy for a 2 pounder, that means I just made $2,000, and I'll get 25% of that. So I just made what is that, $500? Hey, what's up, Big Cliff? What's happening, guys? So that's how that works in basic commissioning sales. Now, what happens in the end of this game? Like, so some dealerships, like I was in Bay City, Michigan, and I'm trying to think of the name of the dealer group. Was it Graph? That doesn't matter. So anyway, I'm in Bay City, Michigan. We took over the store, did a huge sale for them and all this kind of stuff. And we were just amazed that everyone there worked for the factory. Like it was employee discount on every car. We sold 140 cars, and only 2 of them were not employee eligible cars. So we were like, our minds were blown. I didn't even know that was even a possible ratio, but that's how it is. So there they pay their salespeople by the hour and strictly unit bonus. So they might make 9, $10 an hour, and then they turn around. If you sell X amount, then they start piling on bonuses. And obviously, if you go a long time without selling anything, they'll seek to replace you. That's a fact. So that's one of the things about it. Now let's talk about how much does a car salesman make for, let's see, the finance guy. Sometimes they will share in the back end deal. So when I say back end deals, let's say your client decides he's going to finance with your company, and then your finance guy sells him a life insurance policy or a warranty or something like that. Some dealers are pretty generous and they'll pay you like 10, $25, maybe $50 on back end profit, which is awesome, but that's very rare these days. I haven't seen that for a long time. So if anybody is actually getting a piece of that pie, they're doing good, but most salesmen are really not getting paid. They're really not getting paid. So you'd have to be at a pretty big store with a pretty wide variety of traffic in order to sustain any kind of income of any volume whatsoever. Is it being made? Sure, there's tons of people out there being made. But there's a lot of people out there standing at car lots for 80 hours a week or 70 hours a week that isn't making nothing. So car salespeople get a really bad grip. Self-employed is definitely the way to go. Absolutely. So absolutely, self-employed is the way to go. Or once you become experienced enough selling cars, this is kind of your push up, your climb up the ladder. So they'll call desk guys. So if you want to be the guy, the pencil man, and I've penciled so many deals I don't even know. But if you're going to be the pencil guy, that means you're the one sitting up there, basically a sales manager. You're the one writing out the offer that the salesman takes back and forth, and so your pay is going to be based on a salary. Usually, a pretty average would be $1,000, $1,500 a week draw. And then at the end of the month, it'll be your draw minus your bonuses. But you get a bonus on every car sold at the dealership. So you're always going to make a pretty good money. Same thing with the finance guy. He's on commission and draw as well, except their checks are a lot bigger than the car salesman. And once again, they get paid on everybody's cars, not just one guy's efforts. So those guys, the sales managers, the finance managers, they can usually eke out a pretty good living. But what I've noticed in the recent trend in the last 5 or 10 years, a lot of those guys are having a real tough time past 60, 70 grand. I mean, and that's decent. I'm not saying, I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying it's tougher. Like the dealers have really cut back, and the way the internet's educated people, and a lot of that fat is out of there. So there is a few guys still making some really, really top end money, but as a whole, there's not a lot of people making a lot of money. So you got to look at what's it going to cost you personally for the hours versus the return. I would give it a good run. This is for a sales professional. Now, if you're brand new and you're thinking about selling cars, I would probably discourage that, because there's so many other things that you can do with time productive wise, unless you just love to sell stuff, that will return you money a lot faster at a lot greater rate. Meaning, most kids out there, they jump out there, they don't really understand everything that's going on in the whole circle of life with the car sales program. And basically, you're just the guinea pig. They're sending you out to hopefully the hook. The newer you are, you'll believe whatever they say, so you'll go tell your customer whatever. And they really count on the new guy making all the profit, because you will walk straight in and tell them, hey, look, this is the best deal I can get, with a straight face, because you believe the guy that's telling you that. And I'll give you a great story. When I was young, I know y'all are like, Carman, I thought you were still young. I really am still young. Let's just say when I was younger. Let's go with that one. So there was this guy named Dan. He's passed away now. His name is Dan Hill, but he was probably in his den, and I was just a kid. And this guy had like 10 DUIs. He was a salesman. He was the best salesman you ever seen in your life. He had like 10 DUIs. He would come outside and just be puffing down cigarettes. And, we're just like, oh, doe-eyed. Hey, this guy's like the man. He sells like every car he talks to. We were just all wanting to be like Dan. So Dan is in an office beside me one day and he's closing a deal. And I can overhear what he's saying. And he's like, "Hey, the best place for insurance is so and so at State Farm. I've been using those guys for 15 years. They're located right down here on the end of blah, 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 blah." Now, Dan wasn't even from there. Dan ain't had a driver's license in 15 years. But I remember to myself, damn, I believed every word Dan said. Dan was amazing. But and the thing is my vulnerability at that age is I did believe everything he said, and so that's why I made so much money. I because I whatever the sales manager told me, I just went and did it. He's like, "Hey man, you best price you can get on this is $400 a month." I'm thinking, "Damn, I'd love to help you, but the best price you can get on this is $400 a month." And of course, they'd be like, "All right," because I was this young, cute kid, and they'd be like, "All right, I'll go ahead and buy it." And the old ladies loved me, and everybody loved me, and I was just, I was just in there. But the older I got, the more full of shit I realized everybody was, and then what the game really was. And so the wiser I got, it really didn't help me out. I would have been better off to say stupid the whole time, and I'd have made a lot more money. You should do what your sales manager tells you to, and you will make the profit. But if you're going to get into this game of car sales, yeah, exactly, straight face, confidence, yes. Um, if you're going to get into this game of, if you're going to get into the game of car sales, then let me give you some very strong advice. Get into it with an end game. Don't just start and say, "I'm going to go sell cars." No, you got to look at the end game. How long do you want to cars for, my brother? If you're going to say, "Hey, well, I want to do it for a career," all right, that's 15 years. Well, there's a track path that you need to follow. One, you got to pick a dealer and stay with them, because wherever you're at, you gotta stay there, or people won't be able to find you for repeat business, and that's the key. And if you get into that, then you need to immediately from day one, you need to have records, and it's called buy or die. When you meet someone, they are your customer, whether they're buying at another dealer or not. So you got to keep records, and you just keep that relationship going. You reach out to them once a month. You get to know their kids. You get to know everything about them, and eventually, people will just start coming in and ask for you. And that's what everybody wants. That's the desire that every car salesman, they hate when they go to a new dealership and there's that guy that's been there for 10 years that doesn't have to do anything except answer the phone. Like, that's how you can make a career doing it. And you need to have an exit strategy too, because you cannot do this long term. One, it's very stressful. The death rate or the life expectancy is in the mid 40s in the car business. It's because it's so stressful. I mean, can you imagine every day you wake up, you have to produce, and then every month, no matter how good the month before it is, you can be fired. Like, it's that stressful every month, every day. I compare it to the stock market. I think the stock market probably has more mercy than the car dealers do. But um, could you make a living? Yes, but you got to be willing to make that commitment to make the ride. Yes, smokers delight. Absolutely, they smoke themselves to death. Um, yeah, so no, I would say at 5 years you're just vested. So at 5 years, this needs to be like a 15, 20-year plan if you're young and you're going to get into it. That's just my personal belief in car sales. Now, if you're just really good at selling cars and you've got a really good platform to jump off of, I'll give you an example. Toyota stores are like printing money. You can go into any Toyota store we've been in anywhere in the country, they just killing it. GM stores, they're a little pickier as far as their customer bases. They you can talk to them. They're usually good country. I don't hate I hate to stereotype it. I'm just trying to say they're a little is more, I say, moderate type people. They're easier to work with, but they're not as predictable as Toyota. Toyota people will just walk in. They're used to paying the full pop. They'll pay it. They'll sign up and they'll leave. GM and Ford, you're gonna have to sell them and negotiate with them a little bit and work with them. Like Subaru, those people. I mean, God loves Subaru buyers, but God bless it, they ain't buying nothing but a Subaru. That's just how it is. So those are great customers, but not a very fast pace. That'd be something, long term. But yeah, if I was like a greeter at a Toyota store, you're gonna make a living right off the bat. So the dealer where you select is very prominent. Now, of course, this can too many options on GM. There is a lot of options on GM. So there is a lot of options with GM, but GM buyers, they're cool. Like, hey, by the way, that was the wife, and yesterday's conversation never happened.
I already know, guys. I already know.
Okay, let's get back to our conversation. Y'all know who's in charge. I am the man in charge. But yeah, so back to the GM stores. They're cool. We did a GM store in Dallas, the south end of Dallas. We walked in that place. We put out flyers. We did a direct marketing campaign for those guys, and it was absolutely ridiculous. I think we made in a 5-day period somewhere around 400,000 gross profit. I mean, it was insanity. And they were a GMC and I think Buick store. And we just killed it. I mean, we killed it in the back end, the front end, everywhere. GM lets you make money. They love for you to make money as a one of their reps. And GM's got a program too, and so does Ford if you're retiring. Like they've got it now where they're trying to retain their salespeople. That's another thing too. If you're going to stay brand, but maybe not with the same dealer, you can get in with those guys and GM will take care of you and so will Ford. But like I said, this is all long-term stuff. So anyway, too many options with the GM. I understand it was the dog. Yes, it was the dog, my man. We'll leave it at that. We'll have our conversation tomorrow when she's not here. This conversation also carries on to RV salespeople and boat salespeople. Each thing that you get into, it gets a little more to that like niche that more specific. So, but when you're talking about big franchises and making big money, I go right to the big names right off the bat, and you hit it. So that's kind of how I feel about the car sales game. That's just real talk with it, man. I mean, everybody's going to have their opinion, and good car salesmen, I think they earn their money. Yeah, they make some people pay too much, but that guy would have paid too much somewhere else. I mean, that's just how it is. It's not like it's just how it is. Walmart, you walk in and it's you can buy 5 gallons of milk and they're all $1.82 a piece with no problem. Well, people don't do that with cars. They don't walk in and go, give me 3 Cadillac Escalades at whatever the price on the windshield is. So that car salesman, I mean, for every guy that he sells a car to and he makes himself a $1,000 paycheck, he's not been turned down and beat down by 100 people. I mean, this guy is earning his money. So I have nothing but respect for the car salespeople or any salespeople. I got to give a little love out there because it is a tough job, man. It's tough on your life personally. It's just tough all around. You're never at home. Your days off get run. You get so caught up in the game and the next deal, and it's always a chase and it never ends. And it's just a rough way to make a living. If I was talking to somebody young, I would be like, nah, go do something else. Go do something else you enjoy. There's them big old empty car lots, man. That's a lonely place. Can make some money? Sure, but I don't know. Just looking back on life 30 years later. Big Cliff, I'm from a small island. I'm usually amazed at how many car and truck boat dealers there are next to each other in Miami. Dude, but you know what? A big market is a cool place because if you got a big market, that means you've got a lot of people coming and going. The lonely place would be in that rural town, that dealer that sells 30, 40 cars a month. Unfortunately. But I would like to encourage you guys, if you got any subjects that are coming up or anything going down, I'm about it. This is going to be a daily thing between after 5 o'clock. So the Car Man's here Monday through Friday. I'm going to be complete access to you guys no matter what you need. And if you get a chance, shop our Amazon store. You'll see the link on our front page, and I'll have it in our description. Actually, I haven't done my descriptions for the last 3 or 4 days, so yeah, whatever. I'm catching up. All right, I'll get that done today. But I figured just put these things on live, let people start watching the videos. The details, we can take care of the details later. That's so car-like of me. All right, guys. Peace and love, man. Nothing but the love from the Car Man and the RVA. I'll see you, baby.